Good evening, and thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight. My name is Cheyenne Hardy, and I'm the Graduate Assistant for Family Programs and will be the moderator for tonight's event. Tonight, I'm joined by academic advisors from the College of Science, the College of Education and Human Development, the Carter School, College of Engineering and Computing, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and the Visual and Performing Arts College. Today's topic is academic advising and registration, which the panelists will answer questions that I have. Then we will hold the last 10 minutes for questions that you all may have. As always, while the panelists are speaking, feel free to use the Q&A button to ask any questions and we will do our best to answer them. We also have live transcripts / closed captioning for those who may need it. And just like the previous session, this session will be recorded and posted to our website and YouTube channel. Without further ado, let's get started. And for my first question I have is for Stormy. Can you introduce yourself and what you do here at Mason?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Stormy Ryan, and I'm an academic advisor and student development coordinator, and I currently work in the College of Education and Human Development. And more specifically, I work in the School of Sport, Recreation, and Tourism Management. So I work with the sports management students, the tourism and events management students, as well as rec management and some of our master's program students.
Thank you, Stormy. So for my first question, as a student, you are often told by faculty to visit an academic advisor throughout the semester. But how often should students seek out their academic advisor?
It's a really good question. I would say that this is very much a loaded question. So a good rule of thumb is for students to meet with their academic advisor at least once a semester. However, I typically tell my students that before they make any changes in any way to their course schedule, they need to meet with an academic advisor because there are some things that can come up during the semester that can cost money or increase their time at Mason, or they just need to really talk through with an academic advisor. So typically most students are going to meet with an advisor before they register for their fall, spring, or summer classes. I also recommend that a student meet with an advisor if they are thinking about maybe dropping a class in a given semester. Maybe they are going to withdraw from a course, or maybe they are going to maybe add a second half course. We do have some classes that are only half of a semester. So it's always smart to meet with an academic advisor anytime that they think that they're going to make a change or that they're thinking about making a change. That's really what we're here for, to help guide them along the way and really see what those changes may look like for them long term at Mason. And I can also drop in the academic calendar. That is a good kind of rule of thumb, a good place to start when students are thinking about when should I meet with my advisor, because it shows the registration dates on there, as well as the dates to drop or add a class or things like that.
Thank you. As a student, I can say that it's definitely helpful to seek out an academic advisor, at least for that first time, whether if it's coming into the program or already being in the program. Definitely having that academic advisor is helpful, especially if you don't know your course schedule or what classes to take next. And actually, on that same note, Leslie, would you introduce yourself and what you do here at Mason as well?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Leslie Durham, and I work for the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. We're a program at Mason that we have 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science, where students can study the holistic way of basically problem solving, everything from the interpersonal level all the way up through the global level. So I work with students from the very beginning of them entering into our program all the way through graduation. I'm an advisor, I'm a coach. I also do a lot of student engagement. So since we're a small school, I am heavily involved in their time with the Carter School. And yeah. Did you want me to go into the question?
Thank you. During the semester, students are required to schedule classes for next semester or the following year. What is the difference between Patriot Scheduler and DegreeWorks?
Sure. So Patriot Scheduler would be that platform that when students are able to, like right now, they're able to look and see for the summer what they want to take over the summer. They're able to kind of play with their schedule, what it looks like, drop things in a basket. You can kind of look at it as your wish list, your shopping cart, if you will, for the next term, whatever that may be. So it's an interactive, you're able to put in your breaks, you're able to kind of play with it and see what you can do as your wish list. So then when it comes time to registering for the classes, it's already fixed, it's done, and then you can kind of press send and get it going and hope that it works. Now, DegreeWorks is the platform where you will kind of see all of the requirements that you need for, degree completion. So you're going to see, it's not interactive in that you were going to move things around, but it's going to enable you to see what exactly you need, whether it be for your major, a minor, your requirements that you've in within DegreeWorks. Since I am also a current student, I actually have up my own personal, and I can show you what the pages would look like, so you can see the difference between the two. Cheyenne, do I have the capability to share my screen? Yeah. Okay. Let me see. You know what? Never mind. It went away. I had it pulled up and it went away. If I bring it up, maybe at the end of this time, if we have some Q&A, I'll be able to bring it up. But it's fairly easy. Those are primarily the differences between the two platforms.
Thank you. So basically, like Patriot Scheduler is the shopping essentially for the next course or next semester. And then DegreeWorks is just seeing like what is left in the degree that the student has to take. Thank you. For my next question, it goes to Barbara. Do you mind introducing yourself and what you do?
Hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be here this evening with you. My name is Barbara Snyder. I work for the School of Business. I am the Director for Student Success and Academic Advising in the School of Business, working with undergraduate students. We have 12 wonderful academic advisors, and so I help coordinate with them.
Thank you. When registering for courses or classes, there's a chance for a student to be put on a wait list. What does that mean, and what advice do you have for families or supporters whose student is waitlisted?
Sure. When you're trying to register for classes, you might see that a section has a C next to it, meaning closed, or even there could be an option for a wait list. So even if there's not enough seats in the class, you can always put yourself on a wait list. Now, this doesn't apply to all courses. Sometimes the department, depending on which department that it's coming from, will wait until all sections are closed, and then it will open up wait lists. So sometimes you might not see a wait list. And I know that that gets confusing for students. Like, why do some classes have wait lists and some don't? Putting yourself on the wait list does not mean you will never get off the wait list. There are students who are adding and dropping courses all the way through the first week of classes. So there are add and drop deadlines. So if there's a class that you really do need and you still haven't been able to get in, don't get discouraged if you do have to put yourself on a wait list, because as I said, maybe you'll register for classes right when you can register, but there's still weeks until you could slowly get yourself off the wait list. There are tutorials on how to put yourself on the wait list. Those are on the registrar's website. and I can post where all of these tutorials are. Everything is done through Patriot Web. So the registrar.gmu.edu, and those are different Patriot Web tutorials. So there's one on how to actually put yourself on the wait list. And then there's one on finding your position on your wait list. So you'll want to keep checking this. You'll want to keep checking Patriot Web for the position that you're on. And once it's your turn, you will receive an email from the registrar's office that says you have been provided an override for a waitlist position for this course. So then the tutorial can give you all the details that you need, but you do only have 48 hours to take that seat. So sometimes you might see that there's one seat left in the class and you're like, why is there a waitlist? It's because there's one student that currently has that email in their email waiting for them to take that seat. So it's kind of like taking turns. So you'll get the email, you have 48 hours, then if someone else drops. So again, don't get discouraged. Put yourself on a wait list if you need to. It helps units also know, I know from the curriculum end, like if we need to open more sections. If we see a lot of students on the wait list, our enrollment manager will say, there's a lot of students on this. Let's actually talk to a faculty member to see if we can open up a new section. So that's another benefit of putting yourself on the wait list, is it alerts the faculty like, hey, there's a lot of students that want this class, maybe open a new section. So, yeah.
Thank you. I know as a student, there is always a possibility for those really interesting classes to have that waitlist option. And it is definitely helpful once that professor can open up a new section. So I also would suggest the waitlist if you can or if possible. And during registration, there's also a possibility for something else to happen, something else to pop up. So Erin, would you mind introducing yourself and what you do?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin McSherry. I am the Assistant Dean for Student Success in our College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And in my position, I work with sort of an entire team that supports various student success initiatives related to academic progress, related to orientation, and then help our academic advisors within the college with various initiatives and professional development.
Thank you. And my question along the lines of that error message popping up is holds. So what is a hold and how can families and supporters help navigate their student through getting the hold lifted?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing to note about holds is that we don't like them either. So they're very much kind of a last resort for business that needs to be attended to by the student. So it's always something that's sort of directly related to a student's academic progress or something related to their progress at Mason. So if a hold is placed on an account, it's typically after the result of, multiple outreach to the student, alerting them that a hold is either going to be placed or is already placed. And it varies what the reason might be. So a few different offices at Mason may place holds. Sometimes they're related to admissions and final transcripts that haven't been received. They could be related to immunization records that aren't yet complete. Some of our colleges, including mine, will place a hold for students who've fallen below a 2.0 GPA as a prompt to require them to go talk to an advisor to have that conversation about how to improve. Our student athletes might have holds that require them to see an advisor before they can register. So there are a variety of offices that have this ability to place a hold on a student's record. When the hold is placed, the student can always see what the office is that has placed the hold and how to contact them. So when I think about how families and supporters can help their student, I sort of think of that in two parts. One of those is empowering your student to take full ownership of their academic journey in the sense of checking Patriot Web to look into whether they have a hold. It'll always be displayed for them in Patriot Web, including a phone number, which office has placed it. And students can contact their advisor if they have questions about how to resolve it. And I think the other piece related to holds is sort of along the lines of what Barbara was talking about with the importance of monitoring email for waitlist status. Emails are primary way to be in touch with our students. So most offices that have placed a hold will have sent an email or multiple emails guiding the student for what they need to do. So helping students to really be able to manage their email, because some business offices, in addition to faculty, in addition to departments, will be contacting students through email, and that holds information is very likely there. So I think it's all part of sort of managing different aspects of your academic journey, but knowing that the contact information is available to guide them through how to resolve the hold and proceed with registration.
Thank you. I cannot really say that holds are a nice thing to have, especially when it comes to registration and you have your time ticket and you're trying to register for those classes, but then you can't because that hold. So definitely checking in on any avenue, especially the emails, is very important. And another thing happening during registration, or something that happens during the semester, especially the first week, is dropping a class. So Assad, would you mind introducing yourself and what you do?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Assad Khan. I am the Associate Director for Undergraduate Student Affairs in the College of Science, and primarily I'm responsible for policy and advising and do some of the student engagement kind of work. And this is one of my most favorite offices to partner with. And these are some of my most favorite people on campus, so I'm just glad to be here. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Assad. As I mentioned before, dropping a class is a choice that comes sometimes during the first week of when classes start. So when should a student drop a class? And what advice would you give to families or supporters to support their decision?
So I was practicing my response and I had 17 minutes, but Stormy spoke about what I was going to talk about between minutes 3 through 11. So mine is very short. She talked about the link to the calendars, and I think that's a very important one. So please, that's something that's open source. Everybody can have the calendars linked to it. So family members, supporters, the students especially need to have that. So within those deadlines, so I'll go a little bit into the weeds of like what those dates are, because you have about a week. It's usually like the first 6 business days, right? To add a course. That's when students can add a course. But to drop a course, and now there's drop, there's withdrawal. There's 2 different words that we need to be aware of. So when you drop a class, there's 2 different drop dates. One is a last drop date, the other is a final drop date, and those have monetary aspects associated with them. So that's something I would let you to give you as homework to read through what that means. But then there's the withdrawal period, which is unrestricted, and that all happens within the first 5 weeks. So the 2 drop periods and the unrestricted withdrawal, that's 5 weeks. Then you have the selective withdrawal period. So that's how you remove yourself from a class. When you do a drop, it removes the course from the student's transcript and their record. The withdrawal constitutes a W as a final grade, and then you don't get any monetary refunds back or anything like that. So look at drops, look at withdrawals in that way. Now, as far as my advice into the question and how would we help you with support, what I would tell your student to do is get the old school paper and pen planner, right? They can do it through their online Google Calendar, however they want to, but look at their syllabi when they get it. Mark out when papers are due. Mark out when exams are. Mark out when quizzes are. Mark out those important benchmark dates throughout the semester. And really look through that. And if they feel that they're having some sort of academic difficulty in a course, then, and if they need to exit the course, look at the calendar to see where it all is. So that's one way of looking at it. So we want to make certain that, is the student performing well? Is the course just not for them? There's so many different ways. The instructors and the faculty are always going to be a great resource for them to go and speak with. So that's always one thing. So family members, I would say is, supporters be like, hey, have you spoken with your instructor yet? Have you, spoken with us? Have you sought tutoring? And look at those things. So the student might know when they want the out. So I would just say, look that way. That's one thing. The other thing is we're upon the midterm portion of the semester right now. So students can get a grade at the midterm period, but that is not indicative of what their final grade is going to be. They're still they've gone through half the semester. There's still half the semester remaining too. They can always improve themselves, but we do have deadlines on when you can absolutely remove yourself. And that is week 9 of the semester, when the selective withdrawal period hits. So when we look at the calendars again, you'll see all the different pieces that are associated with that. So to succinct and put a bow on this is have the students work through it, because they're the ones who are on this journey and they're the ones who are taking ownership of this. So talk with their instructors, but they'll also want to talk with you as well too, and be like, hey, what should I do? The advisor is another great resource. So we all here, for the professional staff that's here, we're all, welcome to have these conversations with the students as well too. So a lot of conversation should take place prior to removing or exiting from a course.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, funding, whether if it's a withdrawal or dropping a class, is another challenge that a student may face. So Troy, would you mind introducing yourself and what you do as well?
Yes, but for starters, I just want to give a huge shout out to both you, Cheyenne, and Rebecca, for putting this discussion panel together, and also just for the participants who are joining us this evening to hear what we have to say. It's exciting. But not to forgo formalities, my name is Troy Lowry, and I serve as the Director of Student Outreach for the wonderful College of Humanities and Social Sciences. We like to shorten everything up at George Mason University, so we say CHSS, CHSS, College of Humanities and Social Sciences. So as the Director of Student Outreach, really my primary goals are engagement and retention with current students, and then engagement and recruitment with prospective students. And that's kind of the succinct version of what I do in the college.
Thank you. And as for funding and education, it again can be challenging, especially when you are finding yourself rather deciding whether to keep a class or dropping or withdrawing. What scholarship opportunities exist within the college you work for students, and where can a student find this information?
Well, bear in mind that my perspective is very much so centric to the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. First and foremost, I would really implore students to check their Mason email inbox. For better or worse, as Aaron has already mentioned, I think a few other people have already mentioned this as well. This is still one of our primary modes of communication with students. While I know that any and everyone is sending them emails and promotions from inside as well as outside of George Mason, it's really important for them to look at the new emails at least once a day. Look for emails from your college, from your professors, from your academic advisors, so on and so forth, because there's a lot of really good information in these emails. Information like important academic deadlines, which I know Assad was harping on, events happening on campus, and scholarship opportunities. So for scholarship opportunities, if you're a student, again, in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and I believe that this is true for the most part with any college or school, our scholarship applications are live right now through the end of May. For our undergraduate students specifically, we have 44 scholarship opportunities. Some are going to be major specific, while others are going to be open to anyone really majoring in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. In terms of funding, specifically like dollar amounts, the majority are going to come in the form of one-time awards ranging from $500 to $1,000, while a few of them are going to be renewable for up to 3 years, provided they meet the parameters of the scholarship. And every scholarship is going to be different. But parameters they can include, but are not limited to your GPA, financial need. For some, you might need a 3.0 GPA, and for others, a 3.5, just as a few examples. Again, every scholarship is going to be different in this regard. And really the only way to know this is by reviewing these opportunities. For students in CHESS, they can either A, make sure they are checking their emails for these scholarship messages, or B, they can subscribe to our CHESS Instagram account, where just last week we actually posted about our scholarships, or C, they can speak with their academic advisor and or visit chess.gmu.edu/scholarships. And one last thing I would like to add, kind of circling back to the parameters, is that you might have all the things. All the things could be an outstanding GPA, you're involved in co-curricular and volunteer activities, basically everything, right? But if you cannot articulate your experiences in the essay prompts or address whatever it is the prompt is asking you to address, then you're probably not going to be considered for that scholarship. So you got to put forth the effort when you're applying toward these funding opportunities.
Yeah, I know as a student, I definitely get a lot of emails all the time, but I can say that during this time, like March timeframe, is when a lot of scholarship opportunities I'm a student in the College of Education and Human Development. We typically get the emails about applying for scholarships, and I agree, you have to put forth the effort in order to really push yourself to get the scholarship, but also apply for the scholarship, because you never know what scholarship opportunity there is out there for you, but also you also never know what scholarship you will get. So thank you.
And Cheyenne, can I just add one more thing to that?
Yeah.
We've had students apply for more than one scholarship. You're eligible, depending on kind of what scholarships you're eligible for. You can apply for more than one. And in last application cycle, we had a student receive 3 scholarships. So that's something to keep in mind. And when we say that the scholarship application is open for this cycle, the awards are going to be announced this summer for fall 2022. So that's when the students would actually see that money in their student accounts.
Thank you for that note. Kind of to switch gears, but also stay on the same track. So far, we've spoken about students that are really certain in their degree choice. But what about the students who may feel that they're no longer interested in their degree? So Stormy, how does a student change their degree and stay on track to graduate?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the thing is that being on track really means something different for every single student. And that's why it's so important to make sure that the key players are all aware of that change being made. So if a student's interested in changing their major, what they need to do is meet with the new major academic advisor. So let's say, for instance, that a student is interested in changing their major into sport management. They're going to come and talk to me about the sport management program, what that's going to look like for them. If we go back to one of the very first questions, what's going to happen is the student's going to sit down with the academic advisor and we're going to look at the degree works. And so what we can do on degree works is there's actually a function called what if. And so essentially what that is what if I change my major? And so the student is going to they're going to fill in, and they can do that 100% at home as well. And I can drop that link in the chat on how to do a what if. And if the student wants to share the what if with you, if you want to look at it together, you can do that together as their support system. And so it's going to show their degree works essentially as if they'd already changed their major. And so they can see how the classes that they've already taken are being used. They can see how, what's left and how much there is left to do. Now, a list of classes is a great thing to see, but it does not replace an actual academic advisor who is there to say, you need to make sure that you're doing these things in order to get the best timeline that you want to have. And so in that way, you can sit down with an advisor to plan out and map out what it's going to look like to change that major. It's a really simple process after that decision has been made and the map has been made. Students just need to fill out a form. They'll have the new academic advisor sign that form, and they will, it takes a couple of weeks to get that form processed depending on the time of the semester. As you can probably imagine, the weeks around registration, there are a few more major changes to be processed than maybe sometime in February. But as long as the student is meeting with the advisor and the key players there, then it should be a very smooth transition depending on where they are in their degree. Now, if a student doesn't know what major they want to change into, there are a lot of different resources for them. So I'm actually going to drop into the chat, if I can find it somewhere in here, our exploratory advising options in at Mason. So if a student is uncertain what they want to change into, so let's say, for instance, they know that they're just not happy where they're at, they can meet with an advisor who can help them kind of rein in what it is that they might be interested in. Now, if they know what they're interested in, but they're not sure if it's a major, then I'm also going to drop into the chat the list of majors at Mason. And I see, thank you, Rebecca, for putting that in there for me. So they can kind of, maybe there's an idea of where they want to go, but they're not necessarily sure if it's a major. This is also a good place to start.
And Erin, do you want to add anything?
I mean, Stormy pretty much, she covered it really. That's, fantastic advice. I think the only thing that I would add is that, and we have these conversations a lot in our college because of our majors, but we'll emphasize to the student, if they are exploring, that is a very common thing for many of our students. And that those conversations are conversations that we welcome as advisors. So there shouldn't be any kind of shame or guilt related to thinking about changing tracks. Those are conversations that we're used to having, and it's part of our jobs to sort of guide students towards what's going to be the best fit for them academically and whatever their post-graduation plans are. So that's the only thing that I would add.
Thank you. And whether or not a student is deciding to change their track in their degree, or if they just want to add or try something out new, I know that Mason offers a variety of courses outside of the student's degree program, and general education courses allows for students to explore these options. So Leslie, why is it important for students to take courses outside of their program?
I'm so glad you asked that. It's so important, I think. When I talk to students, usually from the very beginning, they come in with preconceived ideas of what college is because of, what they've done in high school. Everything's been prescribed. You have to take certain things. So, when you get to university, it's the time to explore. It's the time to figure it out. It's the time to, like we were just talking about, a lot of students come in thinking they want to do one thing, and then through taking other courses, things change and shift and ideas start to develop. And if there's no other time in your life that you can explore different topics and really get an understanding of something that you're curious about, it's now. So whether or not you're in one major and you decide, what is something if you're let's say a business major and you decide, I want to take an art class. I've never taken an art class. Why not take the art class? You never know what kind of intersection can happen by taking different classes. You might find that by these curiosities that you have, you are able to develop an entire different road and path for yourself that you didn't even know existed. And a lot of majors at Mason, to include peace and conflict resolution, are multidisciplinary. So in the program itself, you're going to be taking classes from multiple different majors. So when you're able to take these different classes from multiple disciplines, it also can contribute to a minor that you might want to pick up. A lot of students have 1, 2, and sometimes even 3 minors or double majors. And by exploring these other classes, it allows students to be able to, pick up or add or enhance or complement the major that they might already have. And it's a wonderful way to go about really creating a holistic and liberal arts education that we have at Mason.
And Barbara, would you like to add to that?
Absolutely. I agree with everything Leslie said. Taking courses outside of your program is really beneficial to your growth and development. Actually, every student at George Mason takes what we call the Mason Core, where you'll be taking some English, history, an arts course. And it really is a way to just explore, like what Leslie was saying. And as far as minors and things of that sort, many of the majors actually have something called general electives that are built into your program. So taking some of these courses that are outside of your program, it's not like you're taking them and wasting credits or wasting money. These courses that you're taking are still part of your program, just as general elective credit, which is built into your program. And it is because we do want you to explore, because this is really the time for you to do that.
I know for myself in my undergrad, I majored in psychology, and then I took a sports class, which was soccer. There were like some friends of mine were like, why are you taking a soccer class if your degree does not have to deal with soccer? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just taking it. And it was a lot of fun. And then there was also like creative writing. I have nothing to do with creative writing when it comes to psychology as well. But again, it was just like, why not? It's there. And also, you just want to have the best time at college, especially because you get to choose the classes and really broaden your horizons at Mason, which I really love. And yes, I can go into a whole spiel, but I won't. And for my last question is for Assad. Due to COVID, a lot of things have impacted student academic success. What campus resources are available and what advice would you give to those students?
First and foremost, I think I mentioned this in my response from earlier. The faculty, your instructors are always going to be one of your biggest resources, because that's going to be, if you're talking about academic progress and everything else, you can always go and see them. They have office hours. It's not just a time for them to get alone time. That's the exact time for when instructors should be, or students should be going to see their instructors, because they have the designated time for that. There are other student peer tutoring type of things that are available. I know for the College of Science, we have the learning assistance that's offered through the Science and Math Accelerator. So we have students who were previously enrolled in those courses who are now working as our tutors, or what we call the learning assistants, and they set up time that's there. So it might not be as, intimidating as going to see the instructor. It's a peer who is assisting them, and then students can just show up and get that additional assistance, and it's free for the students. We undercut the cost and we pay the learning assistants for that. So that's just in the College of Science, but I know that these resources exist all over campus as well too. So if you ever need assistance, your instructors, your faculty, they're always going to have that. Their syllabus has loads of resources. We also have a learning services office, which is amazing, with the various workshops that they provide and everything. So I will find the link and put that on there. But it's one of those, we just have amazing resources for the students so to never be able to get behind. The other thing that I'm always going to say is, when a student walks into class, it should never be a review. It should never be anything new as far as information goes. They should, if they're going to discuss chapter 2 that week in class, read chapter 2 prior. So when you walk into class, it's everything you should already know or have read in your textbooks and reviewed through your notes and everything. So that's just one way to do it. So students always have a way of being staying ahead of everything. But then, your resources are your instructors. We have fabulous instructors who want to help, who want to see our students succeed. And there's also us, this community here of advisors. We can always assist in that way as well too.
Or did you have any other additional resources to speak about?
Well, firstly, I would just second everything Assad just mentioned. Your academic advisors, peer mentors, faculty members. You don't know until you ask. You have to reach out, and that person on the other side is going to meet you halfway. But in addition, just thinking of the litany of services that George Mason University offers to all students, right? We have the Writing Services Center. If you need help, if you feel like you're behind in your ability to craft essays or research papers. We have the Student Support and Advocacy Center. Within that center, there's the Patriot Food Pantry. If you're experiencing a food insecurity, or you need help maybe with financial well-being practices. CAPS, which stands for Counseling and Psychological Services. They have group workshops. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually have a massage chair inside of their office. If you want to go in for 15, 30 minutes, reserve that seat, just relax, do it. Ultimately, though, you have to ask, right? That's really at the root of everything. You know, we have a lot of services, but if you don't reach out, you won't be able to take advantage of those services.
That is true. And also on the note of the massage chair, it is a beautiful thing. I do not know if CAPS is still allowing it because of COVID. They might have changed that, but it was definitely a beautiful thing. And also they do have workshops and like group workshops as well, for students who may be struggling, especially getting used to like the academic load that they have now transitioned into, whether if it's their first, second, or third semester, your load changes every semester. So that CAPS is a beautiful thing. But yeah, before we move on into opening the questions up to the audience, there's a poll that we would like for you all to take. It's very short, very simple. If you can take the poll, this will definitely help us plan for the next event. And while you all are taking the poll, you want to go ahead and start dropping in some questions so that we can ask the panelists. Patty, to answer your question, this recorded meeting will be on our Mason Family website and then also on our Mason Family YouTube channel as well. Chris, the poll should have popped up on your screen, hopefully. There's a question in the chat. Undeclared students would go where for academic assistance? If anyone wants to jump on that question.
Stormy beat us all to it. She but might be.
Yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat, but I know that the chat is there, kind of starts to pop off after a second and you might miss it. But exploratory advising is a great place for students to go if they are undeclared for advising.
There's another question. Does an honors college student meet with both academic advisor and an honors college advisor?
It's usually, it is good to do that because the honors college has a resource for their students, but because the student is also a major in one of the other disciplines, so you know they're an honors college student, but they're also a forensic science or a neuroscience major, we would request, it would be a good thing. We would advise them to go and see one of the advisors within the units as well too.
So another question. There are a lot of online and asynchronous classes for my student this semester. Will all classes be in person in the fall?
Hi all, I can tackle this one at least for the School of Business. We are planning on having more in-person classes. Each department is different and they all build their own schedule. So that's going to be tough to answer for everyone, but the schedule for next fall is actually going to be viewable next week. So students can already start to view the schedule next week, while registration doesn't actually happen until later in April. Students can already start planning. We still are going to be offering more online courses than what we would have pre-pandemic, but that's because many students have told us that they enjoy it. But yes, like generally we are going to have more in-person next fall.
I can say that this session was definitely helpful prior to registration, because I know that registration is opening up really soon. So definitely having your student view the classes and also view the schedule within these next couple of weeks, because they will be registering for their classes very soon. There's another question: if a student is feeling overwhelmed, is a success coach the best place to turn?
That's another resource that we have on campus. So if it's not the advisor, they can, go to their success coach. But I know from us in the advising community, this is something that we've, do on a very regular basis. So it's we can always assist, but then also, refer out if we need be. But I would say, an advisor is a really good place. A success coach could be that person as well too.
Another question. Excuse me. My student has had a difficult time connecting with his academic advisor. Is there any way for him to get assigned a new one that he finds it easier to talk with?
I'll just preface this by saying one thing about, as you're probably seeing a little bit, we're all from different units within Mason. So there's each of the schools run slightly differently. So some colleges will have assigned advisors with students and some don't have assigned advisors with students. So some are very large units and some are smaller units. So it really depends on the college and the department that they belong to. So I don't, maybe put in the chat what department they belong to, and then we can figure out how to connect them to an advisor and how we can kind of get them going in the right engineering. And engineering isn't represented here tonight, but maybe we can put somebody that we know from the engineering department in the chat so we can at least get that ball rolling.
Another person asked, my son has tried using student tutors, but finds they don't always show up during scheduled hours. Is this common?
Hopefully not. I think, it depends. Tutoring sort of varies across campus too. I know some, and there was a question earlier in the chat about whether all majors have tutoring. Broadly at Mason, there's peer tutoring available through learning services. And if your student is having the experience with inconsistent services with that, then I would definitely encourage the student to reach out to the leadership of that particular office, because that is problematic. As far as tutoring in the majors, I know certain majors in our college, certain courses have tutoring available. For example, in our economics major, certain economics courses do have tutoring. There's tutoring available for some of our foreign language courses. So I think it's a matter of focusing in on whether the tutoring is course specific or major specific, and reaching out to best context to sort of narrow in on what the area of difficulty is. I know a lot of times for our students, it's not actually the course itself, it's more broadly study strategies and motivation. And that may be something that someone in learning services or in CAPS or even folks in our academic affairs offices may be able to assist with.
Are there any more questions for the panelists?
I just wanted to reiterate again, I know it's been said quite a bit this evening. Across the board, the best thing for I think your students is to be able to connect with their department and their advisor and really use them as a first kind of a first person to go to as kind of like their resource center, because then we have 5 or 6 advisors here, but we have so many dozens and dozens of advisors on campus that are just fountains of information that have, Assad's been with university for 22 years. He probably doesn't like that I just said that out loud, 22 years. And some of us have been, for 5 or more. So we all have such various degrees of experience and just knowledge about the university that really tap into that resource, because if we don't know it, we're going to be able to find out and be able to really guide your students to the place that they need to go, whether it be for academics or for well-being or for classes or career advice, whatever the case may be, because we're all connected in some way, and we're all here wanting to see your students get to the finish line and get to graduation and do whatever they want to do after that. So.
Thank you, Leslie. And just want to say thank you to all the panelists that were here tonight and spending this hour with me and getting to also speak to the families and supporters of students that go to Mason. So thank you all for joining me, and also the family programs team. There is one more question. Patty, I don't know, being that this is a advising in registration meeting, so I cannot really say much on that question. And I don't think any of the panelists would know the answer to that question as well.
The only thing I would say is housing.gmu.edu, and then you can filter down to the neighborhood maybe that the student resides in, and then kind of take it from there, because there are RDs that could assist with that, but that would be.
Yes, thank you, Assad, because I totally forgot about that resource. But thank you all for again joining us tonight. I do want to say that we will have another family support series topic to be determined, but it will happen April 19th at 7 p.m. again on a Tuesday. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you all have a great night.